Alright. Um, so I wanted to make this video hopefully to give someone the kind of reassurance I was seeking when I first went on YouTube and searched asexuality. Not that there aren't already videos about, the different identities on the spectrum, but I was more so looking for personal accounts and someone to talk to than I was just information about it. And YouTube was a great source for me when I was coming out as trans, so I'm hoping we can build that up so it can be a better source for a lot of people across the queer spectrum of identities. Just because YouTube is a great platform, just you know, for the diverse amount of people that make up the queer community, and I don't think asexuality should be any different. And asexuality is definitely not something that is talked about a lot. It's not something a lot of people reference because the general public, the general amount of the population, are sexual people. But when we talk about sex positivity, we have to see it in both ways, where you can be free and own your body and have sex with however many people you want, and also have sex very little or not have sex at all. And that's still just as liberating, and that's still taking ownership of your body, and that's still positive. But there are such things as sex repulsion that don't just come from trauma and um, don't go away. And uh, when I when I first hit puberty, I didn't really notice I was different for a couple years, up until I started having sex. And I experimented with girls and I experimented with boys. And when I was dating one of my first girlfriends, I ended up coming out to her and being like, well, I'm not sexually attracted to women like I thought I was, so I think I might be gay. Because in my 16, 17-year-old mind, I was still within the rigid binary of, that not being sexually turned on by someone of, a particular gender meant that you aren't attracted to them at all. I completely didn't think about the romantic attraction I felt for her. I wasn't thinking about all the other things that made up why I was with her. But I had the same experience with men and the guys I dated, and for years I carried around this the idea that I was broken, and that all I had to do was just keep having sex and keep having sex, and one day it would just be like a miracle, and I would just enjoy it, and I would actually want to be there, and I wouldn't have to fake it, and I wouldn't have to force myself to like it. Not that none of that had to do with any of my partners either. It was always me, and it was frustrating that I could make them enjoy it, but no matter what I did with them or they did with me, it was never what I was looking for, and it just was never very appealing to me. Um, and it took years to finally pause and say, like, maybe there's a reason for this. Maybe it's just not for me. And that's when I started researching. This was a couple months ago, and that's when I started researching asexuality. And I did find the Asexuality Network, and I did find people through Tumblr that I ended up talking to, but I don't really know anyone in real life um, that is asexual or that identifies as ace. And I remember even when I was coming to terms with being trans and struggling with this, I thought that testosterone would magically give me a sex drive, and B, thought that I like stapled this fear of penetration and this disconnect with my genitalia as or to me being trans. And when I saw that other trans guys were having sex and finding ways around their dysphoria, and I couldn't do that no matter what I did, I thought that that made me less trans, and I was really nervous, and I had no one to talk to, because I didn't really know anyone that was trans at the time, and sex with other trans people is just a very big, it's just something you don't talk about, because we're all so used to being asked about our bodies and our sex lives that it's just kind of on principle not to ask each other about those things unless like you're really close to the person. And when I did become close with other trans people and I did kind of like ask about that, they were all like, oh yeah, you know, like I can do this, I can do that. And I could never find someone who matched with me until like very, very recently. And that was just a very scary thought. Like no, there were people who sympathized with me, but there was never anyone who was like, yeah, I didn't get past, or I got past that, or I didn't get past that. So I just kind of wanted to talk about it and put it out there, and in hopes that like maybe other people will too, or in hopes that at least like when someone in the future is frantically searching on YouTube as I was, they'll maybe find this and they'll maybe be like, okay, so, you know, there are other people like me, or, like, you know, there are other resources. And, you know, don't get me wrong, I did find the asexual communities, because they had their own little designated websites and things, that platforms that they use. I did find those helpful, and I am in a better mental headspace now than I was, but um, I still think that YouTube can be a great platform because it will also draw people that aren't asexual. I feel like most people that go to these websites and are looking for asexual people are asexual or on the spectrum themselves. So, you know, it just for lack of erasure, I guess, is I'm hoping that ace people can extend uh, their platforms to the general public. So that's my only reasoning for this. But yeah, so this is also, I guess, a coming out video. But uh, this video is getting really long. But yeah, I hope that this can kind of start more of a conversation about it. Also, just something that I needed to talk about as well, because it's still very new to me and I still am kind of dealing with it. But yeah, so that's about it.